This is Terry at Sirius, and this application note is targeted at the graphic designer who's familiar and comfortable in Adobe Illustrator. And your engineering team has asked you to help with the process of building a gauge that they can animate. Something like you see here, and I've just used Google Images to find a typical round gauge, and you know how to build one of these in Illustrator as a plain image, as a JPEG, let's say, export it into a flat image that the engineer can put on the back of the GUI. But the challenge here is not so much how to build this, which you probably can do, but more importantly, how to build the little needle that goes in the middle of this gauge and then spins around. And one way to do that in the Sirius Human Interface platform is to have up to 360 different images of the needle, the pin, of the gauge, that the engineer can wire so that one of those images is visible at any given time, and it rotates around depending on the position of the gauge. So there's the hard way to create that needle, and then there's the easy way, and I'm going to show you the easy way. So let's go into Illustrator and create a new project. Now, when you want to do this thing first, this process first, because what you want to do is figure out how big this needle needs to be. So imagine a box overlaid on this image, and you want the needle to kind of go from the center to go about to right there. So let's say that distance from the center of the gauge to right about there is 100 pixels. That means you need a needle from the center of the needle where it rotates to the tip of the needle to be 100. So if that's true, let's create an artboard in Illustrator that's 200 by 200. So there's a straightforward box. Now I'm going to create a very simple needle. You can be much more sophisticated than this, but I'm not that good in Illustrator, so I'm going to show the very simple. I'm going to find the center. There it is. I'm going to create my my circle for the middle of the needle, and I didn't do it right. I didn't put it on the center of the artboard. So let's get it up here onto the center of the artboard. There we are. There's the center of the artboard right there. And of course I could have just done that. Okay, there's the center of the artboard. There's my needle. Now there's the center of the rotation part, and I'm going to do this very simply. I'm going to create two lines here like that. And then I'm going to select all that and join it together. And then I'm going to get rid of the stroke and fill it with, let's say, a brown, like that. So there's my brown needle. Now, I want to be able to rotate this around the center of the artboard. When you do a normal rotation in Illustrator, it'll center around the center of the objects you have selected. So if I just do a rotation right now, it's going to rotate it right around this point right here. That's not what we want. We want it centered around this. So there's a real simple trick you can use. Create a transparent rectangle around the whole artboard. There we go. And I'm going to get rid of both the stroke and the color. So it's completely transparent. Now I'm going to select all. Okay, I've got all these as one object. I'm going to group them together. So now I've got a transparent box. So the object is the box. The center point of the object is the center of this whole screen. So now if I rotate, it'll rotate around the center of the pin. Here's the magic. We have a little macro that you can install, and in the text part of this application note, you'll see where to install. There's some instructions of where to put it in your Adobe file. But once it's installed, that little script is installed in your Adobe install, you can then say File, Scripts, Save 360 PNGs. Now let's save this file first before we, let's see, Save, and we'll go to the desktop and just create a new folder called Needle 360. Let's go in there and let's save this as needle.ai. Okay, now let's and we'll just save this as a standard Illustrator CS6 file. Okay, now let's run this script. Script save 360 PNGs. Watch what happens. This is pretty cool. This is automatically rotating the needle for you and exporting every single rotation of 360 to a transparent PNG automatically. And it takes about 2 minutes, 1 minute, depending on the speed of your processor, how complex your needle is, all that kind of thing. And when you're all done, I'm going to open up my Needle 360 folder here on my desktop. Here it is. There's my needle.ai, and it created this directory called Rotate Set. And if I open the Rotate Set directory, you'll see there they are. And they're all numbered, number 000, all the way up to number 369 back to the 369 position. And they're all transparent PNGs with this needle. That is exactly what your engineer needs to go throw into SHIPTide and then index on that and display whatever needle at whatever angle they need. You're done. Now those are 24-bit color PNGs. You can use Fireworks to optimize those to 8-bit if 8-bit color is suitable for your needle, which it probably is. And there's some tools in SHIPTide that can tell you if that's a better thing or not. But if you want to give the engineering team both the 24-bit PNGs as well as the 8-bit PNGs, there's the other tool you're going to want to use is Fireworks. So if I bring up Fireworks, and I'm using CS6, Creative Cloud hopefully has fixed this, but as of CS6, Illustrator did not output 24-bit PNGs properly. So there's a nice little thing in Fireworks that called batch process. And you can actually go to a directory like that Needle 360 directory and that rotate set right there and say add all. I want to do it on all these files. Say next. You can say I want to export, and then you can create your own profile. So let's just do a custom profile here. And when you create a profile of how to export it, you can go in and say PNG 8 adaptive 256 and make sure you turn on alpha transparency. Okay? So PNG 8 adaptive 256 maximum number of colors, alpha transparency. And say OK. And now say next and say let's do a custom location, and we're going to go to that images directory on my desktop. Where is it here? Image Needle 360. I'm going to create a new directory called rotate set 8. I'm going to go into that, open, and I want all the 8-bit versions there, and I'm going to say batch. And then Fireworks goes off and it takes all 360 files, takes the 24-bit PNGs and reformats them as smaller 8-bit PNGs. You're going to lose a little color, of course, because 8-bit color has a little bit less depth, but for a needle it should be plenty fine, unless you have a lot of gradients and it's a larger needle where you can see it. You might want to try it both ways. Give the engineer both the full 24-bit color set as well as the 8-bit per pixel color set. So that's the process. The batch file or the script in Illustrator is posted for download as part of this app note, and that's what you need to do to deliver to your engineer the needle set for a given gauge.